Senior Dr. Vikas Yong, Minister of Transport, to deliver his remarks, followed by the question and answer session with the media. YB, the floor is now yours.
Terima kasih saudari pengacara majlis, salam sejahtera dan selamat petang. Yang berbahagia Datuk Muhammad Zarif Hashim, Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif MRT3, yang berbahagia Datuk Sri Dalis Abdul Razak selaku Presiden dan Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kumpulan Malaysia Rail Sekian Berhad, Yang Musa Cik Muhammad Azharuddin Masyaf, Presiden dan Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kumpulan Prasarana Malaysia Berhad, Cik Mat Zain selaku Ketua Pegawai Operasi PPNB, rakan-rakan media yang berbahagia, Datuk Azlan selaku Ketua Pengarah 4, Cik Wan Ashraf, Setiausaha Bahagian Darat Kementerian Pengangkutan Malaysia, warga MRT Corp, semua pihak perhubungan dan seterusnya kepada rakan-rakan yang saya kasih sekalian. Salam sejahtera dan salam keluarga Malaysia. Terlebih dahulu, izinkan saya mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada MRT Corp kerana menjemput saya ke sidang media mengenai projek MRT3 laluan lingkaran. Saya juga ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada rakan-rakan media yang turut hadir pada hari ini. Sebenarnya kita sedia maklum, pada 4 hari bulan Mac yang lalu, pihak kerajaan telah mengumumkan bahawa projek MRT3 laluan lingkaran diberi kelulusan untuk diteruskan. Mass Rapid Transit Corporation Sekian Berhad MRT Corp telah diberi mandat oleh kerajaan untuk melaksanakan projek ini sebagai pemaju projek dan pemilik aset. MRT3 akan memperlihatkan pembinaan jajaran kereta api 51 km yang melingkari pinggiran Bandaraya Kuala Lumpur. Ia terdiri daripada jajaran bertingkat sepanjang 40 km dan jajaran bawah tanah sepanjang lebih kurang 11 km. Ia akan mempunyai 31 stesen, iaitu 24 stesen bertingkat elevated dan juga 7 stesen bawah tanah. Hadirin yang saya kasih sekalian, MRT3 laluan lingkaran merupakan laluan yang amat penting untuk melengkapkan rangkaian transit bersepadan Lembah Kelab seperti mana yang telah dihuraikan oleh keempat CEO daripada semua syarikat GLC yang berkecimpung dalam bidang pengangkutan awam ini, khususnya dalam bidang rail. Dan ia akan meningkatkan keselambungan atau konektiviti melalui 10 stesen pertukaran dengan 8 laluan rail transit yang sedia ada, seperti mana yang disebutkan oleh Prasarana KTNB MRL tadi. Sebagai contoh, keselambungan yang baik adalah di stesen TT Wangsa yang akan menjadi hub pengangkutan awam yang efisien. Apa yang paling menarik adalah stesen ini akan menjadi stesen pertukaran untuk 5 laluan rail transit, iaitu MRT3, MRT Putrajaya, LRT Ampang, LRT Sri Petaling dan juga monorail. Sebuah hub pengangkutan bas bandar juga akan dibina di TT Wangsa dan ini akan meningkatkan lagi kesaling hubungan pelbagai mod atau multi-modal connectivity pengangkutan untuk kemudahan pengguna. MRT3 juga akan meluaskan lingkaran liputan pengangkutan awam di Lembah Kelab dan akan memberi akses ke rail transit bagi komuniti-komuniti yang pada masa ini tidak atau kurang mendapat perkhidmatan pengangkutan awam. Dengan adanya MRT3, keluarga Malaysia akan dapat menikmati manfaat secara langsung. Hadirin sekalian, projek MRT3 ini akan dilaksanakan dengan kaedah turnkey kontrak. 4 pakej kontrak turnkey akan dianugerahkan untuk kerja pembinaan, iaitu 2 pakej kerja bertingkat, 1 pakej kerja bawah tanah dan 1 pakej kerja sistem. Aktiviti pembinaan akan dipantau secara langsung oleh MRT Corp sebagai pemaju projek dan akan dibantu oleh perunding pengurusan projek ataupun project management consultant PMC. Pemolehan bagi 4 package kontrak pembinaan dan 1 kontrak PMC akan dibuat melalui tender terbuka. Proses tender ini akan bermula dalam bulan Mei ini dan tender kerja-kerja pembinaan dijangkakan akan dapat dianugerahkan pada suku keempat tahun ini. Dari segi pembiayaan, projek ini akan dibiayai dengan dana melalui terbitan suku. Namun, pihak kontraktor juga perlu memperolehi dana untuk membolehkan mereka memulakan kerja pembinaan. Setiap pakej kerja, terutamanya pakej kerja sistem, akan mempunyai keperluan PFI tersendiri dan butir-butir mengenai keperluan ini akan diwal-walkan oleh MRT Corp tidak lama lagi. Hadirin dan hadirat sekalian, projek MRT3 laluan lingkaran telah dikenal pasti sebagai sebuah projek berimpak tinggi yang akan memacu perubahan ekonomi negara. Kerajaan akan memberi penekanan supaya manfaat projek ini akan dapat dirasai oleh segenap lapisan keluarga Malaysia di seluruh negara. Antara manfaat adalah perkembangan rantaian pembekalan ataupun supply chain yang akan melibatkan pemain-pemain di luar lembah Kelang. Ini akan menjana peluang pekerjaan untuk masyarakat setempat apabila kilang-kilang membuat komponen-komponen industrialized building system IBS untuk pembinaan dan sistem rail beroperasi. Usaha untuk meningkatkan pelibatan Bumi-Putra juga akan dilaksanakan dan diketatkan untuk memastikan manfaat diperolehi oleh kumpulan yang disasar agar agenda memperkasakan agenda Bumi-Putra tercapai selaras dengan program tindakan pembangunan Bumi-Putra PPB 2030. Projek ini juga akan memberi peluang pekerjaan kepada pemuda tempatan, terutamanya graduan program TVET untuk berkecimpung dalam industri rail. Pada masa yang sama, projek ini akan menggalakkan perkembangan industri dan teknologi rail di Malaysia dan ini akan meningkatkan daya saing negara di rangka ini. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, projek MRT3 ini akan disiapkan dan dibuka secara berfasa. Fasa pertama dijangkakan dibuka pada tahun 2028 dan seluruh laluan akan dibuka pada tahun 2030. Apabila projek ini siap kelak, warga Lembah Kelang akan dapat menikmati perkhidmatan angkutan awam yang moden, bersepadu dan efisien, dan ini akan menggalakkan mereka meninggalkan kereta mereka di rumah atau beralih kepada pengangkutan awam. Ini seiring dengan objektif untuk mengurangkan jejak karbon yang akan memberi kesan positif dalam menangani perubahan itu dan selari dengan aspirasi Malaysia untuk menjadi sebuah negara neutral karbon menjelang tahun 2050. Dalam memenuhi aspirasi ini, ditambah pula dengan tersedianya rangkaian pengangkutan awam yang baik, kita mungkin akan dapat mengenalkan berapa lagi pendekatan untuk mengurangkan penggunaan kenderaan persendirian, termasuk juga fee kenderaan dan alam sekitar kenderaan ataupun Vehicle and Environment Fee VEF yang dilaksanakan di beberapa bandar seperti London. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, pelaksanaan projek MRT3 adalah selaras dengan tema utama rancangan Malaysia ke-12, iaitu menjana semula ekonomi, memperkukuh keselamatan, kesejahteraan dan inklusiviti serta melonjakkan kemampanan negara. Semua ini akan dapat dicapai melalui menyediakan jaringan rel pengangkutan awam yang bersepadu, mampu bayar dan lancar yang akan dapat dinikmati oleh keluarga Malaysia. Itu saja, sekian, terima kasih.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now welcome questions from the floor. Thank you.
Okey, boleh tanya soalan. Ya? Lepas sikit. Oh, tadi umum tak dapat dengar. Nama, doktor. TV3 lagi. Ada semua?
Hi, YB. I'm Charlotte.
Charlotte, where are you? Hi.
Yeah, I'm from NNA Kyoto News. So just now, one of the CEOs, I can't remember, sorry, mentioned that the project will be funded by private sector funding and non-government sources of payment. So how exactly are they going to raise funds, and basically what are the sources of payment? Thanks.
I asked Datuk Zarif, who is the CEO of MRT, is the right person to answer this.
The project will be primarily funded by sukuk to be raised by the government, which means the government will need to provide government guarantee for the sukuk. Eventually, it will be financed by sukuk. On the initial years, especially on the civil construction side, the initial years will see some funding from contractors and as well as systems contract. Basically, in the first few years, the government will raise sukuk, but the proceeds of the sukuk will prioritize towards land acquisition. And at the same time, the government also has agreed for us to explore PFI initiative, which means under the PFI, the private sector finance it first and will be repaid by the government under deferred payment scheme. The detail of that PFI we can share with you at a much later date. Thank you.
Okay. Happy with the answer? I think this is a big project. When they talk about land acquisition, the cost is not cheap, particularly in the city of Kuala Lumpur. So we expected around 8.4 billion for the cost of the land acquisition. So just imagine we need to find that money in order to commence our construction. So land acquisition is the most important and most critical work that we need to do at this moment. And we should start with all this. Yeah? Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, who is it? Can you introduce yourself?
Ethan. Okay, so earlier you mentioned about the cost will be 31 billion. Would that include land acquisition cost?
No. See, there are two components. A lot of people do not understand. First is construction. Construction normally refer to two. First is the civil structural, whether it's elevated structure or underground structure. Then the other one is the system and rolling stock. So when you talk about construction, this is the direct cost that involved. But over the above, you must also find the money to acquire land. So that is another, it varies from one to another. Some projects, the land acquisition will be cheaper, and some will be higher because of, it depends on the location. And in the case of Kuala Lumpur, you know that the price is very expensive. That's why you have to set aside 8.4 billion for the land acquisition. That's why when Zarif mentioned 31 billion, that is purely for construction and also the system and also rolling stock. Okay? And then for project financing, we talk about this, project management costs and whatnot. Then the entire project from now until 2030, that you did the money, the kind of allocation, so that you can just move on the project until you have completed that. Yeah. So when you talk about which component, we're talking about construction of the everything structure. We're talking about tunneling. We're talking about a system and rolling stock. That the figure quoted by Zari was correct.
So total is about 40 billion?
No, you see, when you talk, you see, 40 million, that is when you include that, what you call the land acquisition. There's another component where during this project management, you have to engage a lot of people, from project management consultant, and then the running costs from now until 2030, and you have to service the suku and whatnot. I mean, these are the money that you need to secure, okay? And that's why it includes everything, right?
So 40 billion? 40, is it 40 billion for everything?
No, you see, I cannot give you the figures, exact figure. It's an estimation now, as what Zari had mentioned. First, the biggest chunk is on the construction cost, 31 billion. So that's subject to the open tender, right? But I can tell you the rough estimation for the other two components, that is for the project, the cost pengurusan project, reka bentuk, penyediaan, PMC and whatnot. That plus this cost pengambilan tanah, that's about 17 billion. Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah. So considering from now until 2030. Yeah. Yeah, interest as well. That also includes interest. Okay.
Hi, Xiao from the Age here. So just to follow up on the...
Cannot hear you.
Hi, Xiao from the Age here. Just to follow up on the cost question, given that the building materials for all sorts of construction has been going up because of supply chain issues and so on and so forth, can the 31 billion estimate be reliable at this point in time? So that's the first question. Second question is, given that MRT3, the Circle Line, is another huge burden on the government, since that the government has to guarantee the SUKO, how is the government, or rather MRT Corp, encouraging ridership, since to own a car is not that expensive these days, given low interest rates and also a very healthy, good petrol subsidy? Thank you.
Okay, I answer the second part of the question, then the first part I'll leave it to Zari. Yeah. So the second part is on the what you call the
Encouraging
how to
ridership.
encourage people to use public transport. Of course, our target by 2030 we need to achieve 40%. Yeah, that's our target, and that's why we have to plan now. And by 2030, the entire project MRT3, the Circle Line is ready. So by then, we have to think of the what you call. There are a few things that you must consider. First is the parking fee structure within the city. Definitely for any city, when you talk about what you call, also you want to be environmental friendly, about the control carbon emission and whatnot. In many cities like London, they impose the so-called environmental fees or congestion fees, whatever you call it, yeah. And we are thinking of to impose such fee as well. But we must have the system where 40% of our fellow Malaysian, they use this public transport, which is well connected. And in terms of connectivity, seamless connectivity, then you can have that kind of policy. So I think it is not something new, but to face the future challenges, when you talk about even electric vehicle, for instance, many countries, if you drive a vehicle or the electric vehicle, you are not subject to the so-called congestion environmental fee. But if you are driving the conventional one, you need to pay. So I think by 2030, when we have all this public transport system, the rail system ready, I think it's high time for any big city to consider this aspect.
So we should be expecting a congestion charge in the near term, and also
We call it vehicle and environmental fee. Yeah. But I think this is not only in Malaysia. All countries now they are talking about this. Yeah, in order to have this zero carbon neutral and whatnot, then this will be the trend. Sorry, the first part.
Okay. The government has thought about how to have sustainable source of fund to support the public transport, especially in Klang Valley. So when MRT3 is completed, the original master plan of transit network for KL is going to be completed as well, with the robust network that we're going to have in 2030. We are expecting more and more people to take public transport. As I mentioned by Encik Azharuddin just now, Rosarana is doing a lot of things in order to ensure seamless mobility of people, so that at the end of the day, you will be able to use public transport in an efficient manner. And Pasarana is embarking on the digitalization efforts to make sure that the user experience will be enhanced. So we hope that by 2030, while MRT Corp is building MRT3 to complete the transit network, Pasarana will also enhance the user experience to increase the ridership. Government also will need to study another initiative to produce a sustainable source of fund to maintain public transport in KL for the long term. One of the ideas is vehicle environmental charge, as mentioned by YB Minister just now. It's only one, but there are other as well. There are other options as well. This will not be done until thorough study is done. So between now and then, the government would want to embark further study on possible means and avenues to support public transport in Kuala Lumpur. Right? So MRT3 is a major component of that future. Look at the picture of the future. So everything that we do will have to fit into that vision of the future. And that's why the MRT3 alignment is designed as such. And every single station serves a purpose. So the funding for MRT3 would be advanced by the government through Sukuk, and also advanced through a contractor financing, will be repaid by the government through Sukuk, and also through deferred payment scheme, which will be explained much later in some of the days. And eventually, the money that pays the Sukuk to retire the Sukuk would come from this future source of fund, which is going to ensure, this fund is going to ensure the sustainability of land public transport here in KL, right? So the government is not using purely a fiscal strategy in this case, but also wants to make sure that there is actually a diversification of source of revenue. However, further studies needs to be done in order to properly implement this, and we still have time to 2030. Thank you.
Just to follow up on the digitalization part, just now I saw that in the presentation there was a mention of integrated common payment system. Given that Touch and Go is working, why do we need to appoint another company to do that?
So this part here is actually because our payment system is not integrated with KTM. So it is have a seamless journey that people can use and across all stations, either KTM, MRT, or even LRT at this stage. And it will be implemented within 2 years, and MOT and MOF are deciding on the award in the next few months.
Wouldn't KTMP switching over to Touch and Go be a much more faster way? Or is there any technical challenges that are?
There are technical challenges, of which we are preparing for the digital future. and the digital future enables multiple payments to be made. Right, so that's the idea. We want to have ability to have e-wallets to be included in this payment system. So in this world of digitalization, in this world of multiple payment options, we want to allow the rakyat to have that option. That's the idea.
Thank you.
I think that the word multiple payment option is the answer. Yeah. In future, we plan for the future. It's not only for these 2 years. Right? Any other questions you want to ask?
Hi, Dr. Nasri. I'm Shazli from the Edge. Just want to get your views. What is the cost of the government is in terms of bearing for the subsidy for the monthly pass, 50 ringgit, and also getting your further views on with more MRT and LRT lines coming on stream. Will that mean a heavier cost to the government?
Are you saying that this My 50 things?
Sorry.
The My 50, the
Yeah,
subsidy that we give?
Yes, subsidy. Yes.
Okay. So maybe the two CEO can add. I know that in the past, to have this season pass, monthly season pass, is the cost of 200 ringgit, right? But when we introduce My 100 meanings, the government need to fork out 100 ringgit for everyone, every ticket that they sold, you know? And when they have My 50 means 150. So I would say, simple calculation, you only pay 25%, and the rest is heavily subsidized by the government. But in the long run, this cannot be the model. You will find, as Zarif said, you have to have more source of other resources. So I think this is one of the biggest challenges. But you cannot only see from that the money that you spend here. Overall congestion cost, that can also be quantified. So I understand there's a regression model that you can calculate how much you're going to pay, how much it will cost you if you drive a car into the city and you spend about 1 hour, 20 minutes. So that alone is another cost. So you cannot just say that, it's 35%. Of course, for any public transport, the government need to fork out certain money. But it must be a sustainable model. So I think with that, I hope I answered your question. But you see, the simple calculation, My 50 means the government has to come out 150. So as simple as that. So they're talking about the sustainability. When you have more system of this sort, MRT3, then your what you call subsidy will shoot up. Yes, but in the long run, you may have more riders, more ridership, increase and whatnot, and other revenue, and non-fare revenue. That can also help you to reduce the burden of the government.
Okay, so just come back to today's event. So just getting your views. So with more MRT and LRT lines coming on stream, will that mean a heavy cost to the government?
Okay, let me explain to you. The reason why I get all the 4 CEOs here is to explain to you first time the history of Malaysia, where all these main operators, these are the important stakeholders, they can sit down together, and there's an integrated system. Where your service, I can also contribute to your service, like MRL. If it is completed by 2026, okay, you will also contribute in terms of passengers to my MRT3 or MRT2 and LRT as well, right? So it's an integrated system. And for KTME in the past, they have different, the line is totally not connected. But with all this, in future we're going to connect it and make it as integrated the transportation system. So that's the beauty of all the system to be integrated under one roof. So that's why I said today it is one of the big things that happening in Malaysia, that all the 4 operators, they have their own niche market before this, but now we can integrate all the system and make it more efficient. So that's why we need interchange stations. So that's where you can interchange from one place to another, and that will enhance the mobility for city dwellers.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sri. My next question is for Dr. Zarif. Just want to check with you. Last week, you announced, the company announced the resignation of the chairman, right, Dr. Anwar. And just want to check with you, has there been any replacement identified? And has the selection process to identify a new chairman begun?
I think it is not fair for the CEO to answer because on behalf of the government, we know that this is an MKD company. Nobody will come from MOF. So let us wait for the MOF to decide because the process is MOF will recommend to the Prime Minister, then the appointment to be notified. I mean, they will notify the CEO, right?
Okay.
So this is the process. He cannot decide that who to be appointed. The other way around.
And just to check, why did he resign actually, Dr. Barry? Because according to the news report, sources, I mean, it was told that difference of opinion. So what was there any real reason for that?
No, I think it's when you resign, it's a personal choice. I think it's better to refer to the person.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, Doc.
Okay? Yes?
Okay, on the cost again, so you mentioned...
You are from?
From the start.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned about the land acquisition and cost, so total about 50 billion, is that correct? Do you have a range that I can put?
You are talking about which one? Which
Total
one?
cost for all, overall.
It depends on how you calculate. You know, you can say if you want to include everything until you finish paying everything, then the amount could be very big. You know, just like you buy a house, how much you spend. You know, eventually after 30 years, how much will you spend? Now, that is different. You know? So you're talking about the cost, construction cost for the civil package plus the system. That is one cost that which is very direct. All right, land acquisition is where you take that piece of land, some First Nation, and eventually you will develop it. You know, once you own the land. Yeah.
So taking from what Dr. Sri has explained, I would like to reiterate that the construction cost is around 30 to 31 billion. It's going to be the same as Putrajaya line. And the only difference is MRT3 has a bit more land cost here because most, unlike the other two, MRT1 and MRT2, MRT3 predominantly is going to go through very developed and mature area of Kuala Lumpur, and therefore the price of land is on the high side. So therefore we have budgeted slightly more compared to the other two previous projects. So that's direct cost, 31 for the construction and another 8 for the land acquisition. And the construction cost will be finalized through a tender exercise. So we do not know what's the conclusion of the tender exercise. And just to let you know, the government also is going to issue sukuk, and this sukuk needs to be served. The interest needs to be served. So we can share with you that as far as government is concerned, the government has allocated enough cash flow from now until 2032 to service the sukuk. That amount of investment that government has put aside allocation, as far as cash flow allocation is concerned, the government has put forward about 50 billion to serve. That also includes the cost to serve sukuk. Yeah? So if you ask us this question, the direct cost will be land plus the construction. That will be the direct cost. That will be the cost that we are going to spend. The rest of the money, we have allocated enough for MOF to put aside this amount of money for the next 10 years to serve the sukuk. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's very clear. So, any other questions?
Hi, Dr. Sri. Here from the H again. Just wanted to get your thoughts on HSR. So you mentioned that...
No, I think you focus on this issue first because I can address this issue in different forum because I just want to concentrate on MRT3. This is a big announcement, so better focus here. And also yesterday I already mentioned in cabinet, in Parliament, the HSR The negotiation will only start the second quarter. So wait until second quarter, which is not very far from here, from now. So I think just focus on MRT3 today, yeah?
Thank you.
No issue. Okay? Will you all feel happy to have this MRT3? Ada soalan apa-apa? Awak tanya. Sorry?
I think on my part, I would like to stress this. First of all, we have to appreciate that, this MRT3, if you look back, how many times do we have an opportunity to talk about this type of mega project, and it is going to go through an open tender exercise. So I think the media should acknowledge that the government is serious about doing this on the open tender basis. This is, I would say, as far as I can remember, this is a brave step from the government wanting to change. The government is serious about changing, wanting to do things in a different manner, and for that, we have to be very thankful to the government for embarking on this change. So that's why I say that MRT3 is a change management program. It started off for the rakyat, and the government approved also for the rakyat. The way it's going to be done also is good and open for the rakyat. And we hope also we can complete this as well for the rakyat. So bear that in mind, we have still a lot of things to explain in our blueprint. Give us time. We will want to encourage all of you to take it step by step. We will explain, we will be more transparent to you as time goes by, so that we all can absorb, we all can understand better. I do not wish to give all the information today. As you all know, change management needs to be done step by step. But eventually, I would like to welcome everyone out there who wants to do differently for the country, who wants to be the agent of change, to come forward and to make sure that MRT3 is going to be successful. So thank you very much. That's my last word.
Thank you, Dr. Zari. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of MRT Corp, I'd like to thank the YB Minister, our speakers and guests for your time and effort in joining us today. I sincerely hope that today's conference has been an insightful one. We have prepared some light refreshments in the room next door. Do join us before you leave. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.